I was having beans.
Beans and banana. Get referred again and do your whole intake again and tell your story again. And the longer your story gets, the less, at least in my experience, the least serious they take you. Because then they're like, yeah, but you already have this, this, and this, and this. How do I keep pausing videos at these moments? It's a talent. It's a talent. Welcome to boneitch. My name is Luca and I make videos about what it's like to live with Tourette's. For anyone who has seen any of my other videos, you'll know that I'm quite passionate about the issues surrounding late diagnosis of Tourette's and ADHD, especially in women. So when I saw that This Trippy Hippie has uploaded a video talking about her experience with getting diagnosed with Tourette's, I felt that that was a great opportunity to do a reaction video to that and talk about it. So that's this video. It's quite a lengthy video that we're going to react to, so I'm going to try to keep this intro as short as I can. But before we start, if you are new here and you're interested in learning more about Tourette's, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever I upload a new video. I upload at least weekly, and yeah, I'd love to have you join our little boneitch family. So for those of you that might not know who This Trippy Hippie is, This Trippy Hippie, or Evie, is a content creator from the UK. She's on TikTok and YouTube as well. She's quite successful. She has Tourette's and makes great videos about her Tourette's, her experience, and she's a lovely, wholesome, kind character that I really enjoy watching. And even though Evie has quite visible tics, apparently she's only recently been diagnosed, and she uploaded a video talking about that. So that's what we're going to react to. Let's do it. So before we start, while I was editing, my first sample for my t-shirt designs came in and I really love it. So I just wanted to show it off. If you want this design or any of the other designs, do check out unalike-apparel.com. It'll be in the card. Yeah, I love it. It's so real. It's here. Okay, enjoy the video. Bye.
Ooh, fuck off. Hi.
Hi.
Oh, my Tourette's wanted to get there first. Hi everyone. I know it's been a while since I've just like sat and talked. Hi.
Hi.
But I was in bed last night, and I realised I obviously raise a lot of awareness about Tourette's, post a lot of videos, and then I was like, wait a minute, beans. I don't even have a video explaining how my Tourette's developed and like when my tics started. Hi. So I should probably do that, which is what I'm doing today. Woohoo!
Oh,
hey! My Tourette's are quite good today. My tics are quite good today, rather. However, I am a bit seizure-y, like there's seizure activity going on. I've been having some problems with my right eye, so I have an optician's appointment to get it checked out to see if it's anything like that. Basically,
maybe
the past 5 days.
Oh, I should probably already mention, if you don't know why it looks like I'm copying her tics. I'm not like mocking her tics or anything. That's just Tourette's, especially my Tourette's. I have quite severe echolalia and echopraxia, which is the mimicking of sounds and movements, especially when someone else is ticking. So when I watch someone tick, you'll know that I'll start copying or mimicking her tics with my Tourette's. So that is just a quick note.
This video is going to be hard, I can tell already. I started having some double vision. Oh! Which is obviously a big red flag. Haha! the next few days the double vision continued, but now it's only my right eye, and it's only my right eye that hurts, which is really weird. Hello! Ha! Beans! Sorry if you didn't really care about that. I just needed a bit of a rant, I guess. Hi! Hi! But I have been a bit seizure today. I've had a few absences already, so please bear with me while I try to make this video.
So yeah, from what I understood, Evie also has a seizure disorder that is not necessarily related to Tourette's. It's a different thing. So it's not, don't worry, it's not common for people with Tourette's to have seizures. It's another thing, and yeah, she has both. So yeah.
It can be difficult to keep my train of thought, and you might see a few absences. I'm not going to edit them out because like that just sort of defeats the purpose of what I do. Raising awareness and education. So if I edited them out, I'd be a bit of a hypocrite, wouldn't I? So yeah, let's get started. So I'm actually going to talk to you about when my tics started and when I finally got diagnosed with Tourette.
1 second, I'm just going to turn around this thing because I'm afraid this thing will hit my mic and everyone will hate me. So this feels weird, but I think it'll be better. So sorry.
Tourette's, all that kind of stuff. Just to answer some of your questions, because I do get asked like a lot, jeez. Keep in mind that this is purely my tics and Tourette's story. I'm not going to talk about seizures or anything else that started. They do kind of overlap, but I'm not going to get into that. This story is just about my tics and Tourette's. Hey!
Baby!
Fuck you! Anyway, right, I keep getting distracted, so... Beans!
Beans!
When I was about 12 or 13... Fuck off, Peter. Sorry. He just messaged me, I got a notification. I was at school. I was in year 8 at the time. Beans! Which I'm not sure which grade that is if you're in America. I started having the hiccups. You know, obviously first we thought, oh, got the hiccups, you know, whatever. However, these hiccups started being every day. Hi!
Hi!
Every day, hundreds of times a day. Like with hiccups, you know, you have them for maybe 5 minutes and then they go, but mine wasn't like that. It was like single hiccups, hundreds of times a day, all day. We thought this was weird, but didn't really think much of it, just thought it was something that my body did. Hi! But after maybe a year, 2 years, we decided to look into it a bit more. You might be thinking, why did you leave it so long? But, you know, these were literally just hiccups, so, you know.
Oh, I'm so Evie, if you ever watch this, I'm so sorry for pausing on that face. Wait. When I edit my own videos, I always like see my face in the weirdest position and it's horrible. But I can definitely relate to the idea of why did you leave it that long? For me, it wasn't hiccups. It was my first tics were like that. But I also have quite severe asthma, and I think I was 6 or so, maybe even younger, I don't know. But I was watching a Dutch TV show that was all about like health and the body and stuff like that. And there was someone with, what is it, that lung disease. I can't think of the word now in English. I'll look it up, but they coughed a lot, and because that was quite painful for them, they were instructed to not cough, but to do to clear up their lungs. And I think I picked it up from there. Anyways, everyone just thought that it was part of my asthma that I couldn't breathe, and that is like partly true. I did it because there was some like irritation in my lungs as well. And I think for many people with Tourette's, when a body part hurts or is irritated, or when you can feel it, your tics focus more on that body part, which is very counterproductive because then the body parts that hurts a lot because of your motor tics, you'll get even more motor tics, and it's a vicious cycle. So that's why my hands always hurt, because they hurt, so I tic more. Because I tic more, they hurt more, and all of that. So yeah, in retrospect, everyone's like, oh, if only I caught it sooner. But yeah, no, but I can definitely relate to that. I have no idea year 8, what age that is. I should probably look that up. 1 second. So yeah, apparently you're like 12, 13 during that age. So yeah, the onset of Tourette's is usually before that, but I also think that that is kind of based, it's an average, of course, and Tourette's can start at any age. And even then, you might have had tics that you never noticed, and that these hiccups were the first thing that she noticed. And I also think, I'm not sure that maybe that average is more about boys, because I'm not sure. I'm really not sure, but it's not uncommon for people to be to start having tics later, even though it is usually earlier. So I think, like, I used to know this by heart. Between the ages, or what is it, like an average of 7? But of course that's an average, so people will be above that age as well. So yeah,
Just hiccups. So
hiccups.
you know, like no big deal. They weren't really interfering with my day-to-day life too much, except that, you know, if I was at school and, you know, the classroom would be quiet and then I would hiccup and it would be like, oh no, you know, it is awkward. But that's
Okay, I don't want to pause it too much, but on the other hand, this is a reaction video, and of course, if you want to watch the original video, it will be linked in the description box and linked probably in the card. I'll try to do that as well. Wait, now I lost my train of thought, but I mean, it's a reaction video, but what was my, yeah, that she said that it didn't interfere with her life, and I now see that I paused it again at a, I'm so sorry, Evie, but that these tics didn't interfere with her life. And I think that I've been getting questions from parents of children that were starting to experience tics and whether they should go see a doctor. And first of all, I cannot advise you to go to a doctor. That is, I can't give you medical advice. That's not my job. But there is definitely loads of articles of the different Tourette's associations from around the world that do have some guidelines, like, should I be worried? And tics are quite common in children, and usually they go away. Even if they don't go away, if they don't interfere with your life and they're not getting any worse, then maybe it's fine. And only if you feel worried about it, the moment you feel worried, so the fact that if you feel like commenting, if you're looking this stuff up online and are having questions and thoughts and things like that, and are worried about your child or about your own tics, then the fact that you're worried is a good idea. It's a good idea to go see a doctor. But yeah, as long as it's not interfering with your life, then maybe you're all right, and don't panic. And it might go away on its own. That's usually the story. Of course, the people that you see online are the people that for whom this wasn't an experience and it got worse. But that's not for the majority of people with tics. Tics are so common in children, and most likely it'll go away. And if you feel worried, go to a doctor. So yeah.
That's about it. They didn't affect me in any other ways. Fuck off. So we went to the doctors. Me and my mum sat in the room, said to him, I've been hiccuping every day for 2 years. Can you do anything? And he was like, oh, that's really strange. But unfortunately, there wasn't much that he could do. So we tried things like, because when you have the hiccups, it's caused by your diaphragm.
Diaphragm?
So maybe there's something wrong with my diaphragm. Maybe I'm eating too quickly when I have my food. So when we were at the dinner table, I started eating my meals slower.
Uh-oh.
This made no difference whatsoever. Fast forward a few years, I'm now 14. I am still hiccuping every day. Random single hiccups, not even, you know, multiple at a time. You know, sometimes there'd be 2. Literally hundreds of times a day, like all day. I'm gonna put in a clip that my friend Rachel found for me. She was looking through old videos and she found one where I have these hiccup sounds. So we were, I think 14 here.
Ayo.
Maybe 15. Just for a bit of clarification, I'm 20 now. I'm gonna be 21 in a few months. So this was quite a while ago. Beans! And I'm just gonna show you what these hiccup things look like, sound like, just so that you can see.
Do you know how Luke dropped his phone? What? No.
You can see that. Also, how long and like nice is my hair in that? I really like it.
To be honest, I mean, if you see someone having hiccups, that's not what you usually think about when someone's having tics, right? So even though I can't understand it being quite frustrating when you go to the doctor and they just can't help you. I've had that experience a lot with different things, and they just say that's weird. Yeah, they say it's because you don't sleep enough, or you're stressed, or it's just mental health stuff. How do I keep pausing videos at these moments? It's a talent. It's a talent. She has a lovely face, and I just do this. It's horrible. But it is an issue that doctors, like family doctors, GPs, that for many, like most people in most countries, are the first point of contact to get specialist medical care, often don't know enough about Tourette's. And there's actually a great video about this. Someone contacted me about this, and she actually wants to do a video quite soon as well about this. And it's specifically about how to get, like, the pathway to get help for Tourette's and other tic disorders within the UK, and how it is right now, and how it should be, and what could possibly help. And I'll link it. It's on Vimeo, so I can't really put it in like a card, like at the end of the video, but I'll put it in the description box. I think you'll really enjoy that as well. Ayo. So yeah, I think that's really interesting, because of course I'm not from the UK, so I cannot speak for the UK, and Evie is talking about her own experience, and everyone's experience is going to be different. And they actually did some research about it and have some great findings. So I really recommend, especially if you're from the UK, it's a really interesting video. So go check that out. And I think that somewhere in this summer, I'm going to do a collaboration with the people that did this video and did this research. So subscribe if you're interested in getting a notification when that video goes up. All right.
Anyways, so you can see that they look like hiccups. They sound exactly like a hiccup. So, you know, we just brushed them off for a while. We thought it was really weird. You know, people at school noticed that I had hiccups all the time, especially my best friend Eve. It actually became one of our inside jokes that I had hiccups all day, every day for years. And we thought it was hilarious, like really funny, just because it was so odd. Bye! Fast forward another couple years, I was 16. And I started developing some other odd little behaviours. Hi! So by this time I had dropped out of secondary school, I had been homeschooled, and I was now in college. I'd had a lot of mental health difficulties, but I'm not going to go into that. Like I said, this is just a video about my tics. Oh! I started, developing some odd behaviours. Including a movement which I couldn't control, where my head and my elbow would go out at the same time, like that. Yep. And I remember one day I was just sitting in a classroom thing, a resting area, and I went like that, and I like whacked my elbow off the radiator. And I think that was like...
Wait, does it still show? Nah, kind of. Yeah, I did that. Yes, no, not a few days ago. Uh, but I can imagine that at first it doesn't. Hiccups don't remind you of tics, but an elbow shrug or a head shrug is more common tic. So yeah. And I think it's interesting that her tics develop later, like later in puberty. Like often the trajectory of tic disorders and Tourette's, like for just a majority of people, is that it starts early in life as a child, and when you start puberty, it kind of goes away. But sometimes kind of the opposite happens, and that's what happened for me as well. I did have some tics when I was quite young, like the huffing sound that I'm not going to repeat, and I used to stick out my pinkies when I walk. I had to like like little what's that called, antennas, and I couldn't stop doing it. It looked like I was trying to keep my balance with my pinkies, and like weird stuff like that. And then it got worse, like well into puberty and after that. So even though for most people, again, if you're a parent and you're watching this and you're worried, for most people it'll go away and gets better, and sometimes it doesn't, and that's the reality of it. So let's continue.
Not a wake-up call, but that was when I started realizing, like, oh, this is actually really weird. And then around this time I started doing other odd things too, which I actually still do to this day. Say if there is a, not lamppost, but like a pole in the street, just kind of looks like this. This is my seizure bell, by the way. I've got it here because obviously I'm a bit weird today, so I ring it whenever I feel a seizure coming. But say there's this post sticking out of the ground, I have to tap it twice. And I started doing that when I was 16. And I still have to do it now. I haven't really talked to anyone about it, actually. I don't really know why I do it. Maybe it's a tic. I don't.
So yeah, I mean, having to tick or tap something, I mean, that sounds, of course, I'm not a doctor, more like OCD, but OCD is quite common with, it's a comorbid disorder with Tourette's. So many people with Tourette's have ADHD and or OCD or some obsessive compulsive tendencies. So having to tap something a certain amount of time, or even having your tics that they have to sound right, or that you have to complete them because else it doesn't feel good, or that in certain situations you have to tick in a certain way, or that you always have to have a tick to spin around when you are on a certain part of a road. That's quite common with Tourette's. That it has overlaps with obsessive compulsive disorders. I don't know the details about it. I do want to make a video about it, like specifically, but I'd have to do more research. But in general, that's what I know. So it's not that weird, even though I can understand that talking about this for the first time on camera, where you're like, I don't know why I do this, is a bit scary. But yeah, I have some weird, obsessive compulsive tendencies. I don't have OCD, but I do get up at least 10 times a night to check whether my stove is off and that I turned off the heating of my heater, my radiator. It doesn't really interfere with my life. I just do it and I try to not make it worse, but I do have those tendencies. So yeah, it's quite common. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. So that started when I was 16, along with the head jerk I told you about. Really weird other behaviours. I'd tip out my pencil case and line them all up. It was really weird. But like I said, I really wasn't in a good place at this time. Everything's just really foggy, to be honest. It really wasn't great. And when I was 16, I had my first seizure. Everything kind of blew up then. But that's a story for another time. I had a really bad seizure in college one day. As usual, I was taken to hospital by an ambulance. The staff had to call an ambulance. And while I was in hospital, they said, is there anything is there anything you want to tell us or anything you want to talk about, ask us. Sorry about the lighting. And I said, actually, yeah, I have these weird hiccups and a movement like that. And the doctor said to me, oh yeah, it sounds like you have tics. And I was like, oh, okay. Beans!
Beans!
I
Banana!
didn't say beans.
Beans, banana.
And that really was a big, you know, all those years of hiccups finally made sense. Because when I have these hiccup noises that I showed you in the video of when I was 14, 15, you know when you have hiccups, they can be painful. You can feel them in like moving in your chest. You can feel the air. All those years of hiccups, I never felt that. I never felt anything. It was just a noise coming out of my mouth. There was nothing going on in my chest, which totally makes sense that it was a tic. It just really, it was like, you know, pieces of a jigsaw coming together.
Oh, absolutely. That is such an important moment. Even if, again, even if you don't feel like you want treatment for your tics, just to have someone tell you, some professional look at you and tell you, this is what's going on, this is why you are the way you are. I had it with my ADHD, with my Tourette's as well. It felt validating, and it felt like so many of these puzzle pieces clicked into place, and it's just this weight that lifts off your shoulders. And even though it's just a diagnosis, it's an important moment. And I think for many people with Tourette's, especially when you're late diagnosed, it's kind of like a moment to celebrate, because it's like, yay, I know what's going on with me. Even though, of course, it's not fun to have Tourette's, but you already had it. Now you're being heard, and you have a word for it, and a community that you belong to, and it makes sense. And yeah, absolutely.
You know, I did a bit more research on tics when he told me, but I didn't look into it too much because, you know, I didn't have loads of tics at the time, and I didn't want to look too much into it in case, just in case my brain was suggestible to picking up new tics, and I didn't really want that. I was happy having mild tics at the time. Then when I was like about a year later, I was 17 in college, I started developing more tics. Like I said, it still wasn't a good time for me. I'm trying to think, which ones did I develop? Oh yeah, I started blinking like this. Which is still a tic that I have now. What? Oh, cheese. Beans.
Banana. Beans and banana. Hey,
I started banging my chest, I think. I was banging something on my chest. Pretty sure it was like that. Again, still a tic I have now. What? I started clearing my throat constantly, like like that when I was 17. Or clapping, you know, little head jerks. I don't know, we just thought it was anxiety tics. Because at the time, I had anxiety, depression, DR, DP, so we thought it was caused by like the stress and anxiety that.
yeah, I've heard that one. Oh, I had that. Most of my tics, like, because I wasn't diagnosed until I was 27, and I also had like depression, anxiety, dissociation, ADHD, so I was already flopping about a lot, and everyone just said, oh yeah, that I was just being anxious and nervous. And then I felt like such a fraud because I didn't do it when I was, like, I also did it, because I also did it when I was alone on my own, and I felt just, I don't know, it felt that made it my fault or something. Ayo! Even though it's weird, because those are quite like common tics, and of course in retrospect it's always easy to say that, but I think that shows that in the medical field, tic disorders and Tourette's really have to be more well known, and that it should be more like higher on the list of possibilities, and that maybe people can get checked out earlier, because that makes life a lot easier once you actually know what's going on.
I was having beans
and bananas.
I was on one-to-one support at the time that my tics started escalating. I had to have one-to-one support, sometimes two-to-one support because of my seizures. What?
Why,
They
Luigi?
were very severe and quite harmful and dangerous for me. So, I
Hello.
had to have staff with me at all times, and I did feel quite bad for them because I was high maintenance.
Hello.
You know, I was easygoing, you know, I wasn't naughty or loud or anything. I actually had mutism at the time, selective mutism, so of course I wasn't loud, but I wasn't a naughty student. I was very easygoing. However, my seizures made me quite high maintenance in that way. Haven't really talked about selective mutism much either. If you want me to, let me know. Anyway.
Oh, I get that feeling of feeling like you're, because you need more care, that you feel bad, because yeah, you don't want that, and you don't want to put that blame on others. And yeah, I've definitely had that feeling, especially when I was young. I still do. Now I just pretend that I'm fine. I live on my own, and yeah, still not bother anyone with it. But I understand that feeling. Ayo. Also, I made a design about mutism. I'm so sorry, I didn't want to plug it. It's just something I just thought of. I might put it on screen now if I remember. It's on there on my website.
Yeah, my one-to-one started noticing these tics, but we didn't really talk about it much. Not that I would talk back to her anyway. And then in 2018, I had a seizure and my legs were paralyzed for a month. I kept having episodes like this: leg paralysis, arm paralysis, hands locking up, a few other new symptoms. And then in 2019, I was finally diagnosed with FND, which is functional neurological disorder. I've done a couple videos on it before in the past. Get lost.
Get lost, baby.
And that gave us more answers. And then we saw that, you know, Tourette's has like a ginormous list of symptoms. So many things can be FND, but if you have FND, you have to be careful not to put your new symptoms down to FND because it could be something else. Which
Yeah, I talked about this in the what was it about the tic explosion in teenage girls video about FND and FMD. Yeah, there's a lot of research about how it's difficult sometimes for clinicians to make the right distinction between Tourette's and like functional disorders. And then that when they were doing further research, it turned out that people were misdiagnosed. Oh, and I can imagine that if you're already, fuck off, Jesus. This could have happened. It's a long video to watch someone else with tics, but I can imagine that if you already have a diagnosis of the functional, I don't know, have a function FMD diagnosis, that when you have tics, that clinicians will think, oh well, that must mean that it's a functional movement disorder or something like that, even though that might not be the case. Ayo. So yeah.
I learnt the hard way. While we were researching FND and talking to the neurologist, we discovered that tics can be part of FND. So then we thought, oh, that's amazing, you know? Finally, again, after all these years of hiccups, tics, we now know why I have FND. What?
Uh-oh.
So that was perfect. And 2018, 2019, I would go through flare-ups in tics where I started developing vocal tics. I wasn't really saying like stuff I do now.
Banana.
Like now my tics will say full sentences, swearing. They will actually sing sometimes. What? Oh! What? But during these flare-ups, I developed tics where I would say "wow" and like
wow.
What else did I say?
Why,
Hey,
Luigi?
that was it. I would shout "hey" quite a bit. Whoop! I started clapping a lot more.
Metallica.
A lot more head jerks. Whoop! I'll put in a clip now. This video is from 20.
1 second. I'm just going to take a quick break because else I'm going to break my brain. Ayo! I'll be back in I'll be back in 1 second for you because it's not that. I'll be back 1 second. Okay. We can do this. Let's continue.
18 or 2019. This was during a tick flare-up, so I'll show
Flare
you
up.
now. So you can see what I mean, clapping, head jerking, and this whole time we called them FND tics, which is understandable, I guess, because yes, they were getting more severe, but they still weren't awful, which sounds really weird, but you know, at this time, looking back at that video, to me, those are mild tics. Not totally mild, you know, they're not like the video that I showed you when I was 14 with long hair and I was hiccuping. Not as mild as that.
Okay, that's not mild tics. I understand that in comparison to what the tics that she has now, it's mild and that Jesus. It still fit with the FND thing that that framework that they were thinking in. But those are not mild tics. So, and of course, Tourette's is not a competition. But for most people, Tourette's and tics is just a little cough or a slight movement. And so for most people, that is quite severe tics. Even though I understand that in comparison, it's all right. Like, if I look at my tics from when I was like 24, I would think, oh, yeah, that's mild. But for someone that has more, as a different type or a different severity of Tourette's, then, oh, that's already quite extreme. So the tics that she just showed on video, or even the hiccups that just keep going and that's so constant, that is not mild. But I understand that in comparison. I keep rambling now, but I hope you understand what I mean.
But they're still not severe. Years went by, still classed as FND tics. Totally made sense in our minds, me and my family. And then, May 2020, I had my first ever tic attack. I've also done a YouTube video on this if you want to go and watch it. It's really strange looking back on it because my tics still weren't how they are now.
Yeah, oh my god, yeah. I've seen part of it. I've seen that video, but that's so, it's weird to look back at. I have a video about, like, literally with part of a tic attack on my channel as well, and I edited it like quickly, like skipping seconds and not listening because it's so weird to look at. And tic attacks are horrible. They're, I think, the worst part of Tourette's. Like, even with the social stigma and everything, personally, tic attacks are the worst because they are so painful. And yeah, no. And for me, it's my first tic attacks were the reason I went to the doctors, because I was like, this isn't normal. Because I could also kind of rationalize away all the tics, because that's what you do, because it's always there, and you rationalize it all away. But that first tic attack, that's not, I don't know, that started to bother. I don't know. I really have trouble just speaking right now because my brain doesn't work and I feel really ticky and I'm holding it in, and that I'm not smart enough. I don't have the bandwidth to do that. But yeah, for me, my first tic attacks were definitely the reason to actually pursue professional medical help and actually do some research and kind of stick up for myself and not just be like, I don't know what this is. I just kind of do this little thing sometimes, but actually be like, no, I have to get help for this now, please, thank you.
And I've actually put in the caption, I had my first ever tic attack and hopefully my last, which, you know, that didn't age well.
Oh!
I had that tic attack while we're out walking. We were out walking by a river, as I explain in the YouTube video if you want to watch that. Hey! And it was literally...
It was so pretty.
On that walk, me and my mum started thinking, we don't think this is FND tics anymore. Wow!
Wow!
You don't get tics like that with FND. I mean, I'm sure in some cases maybe, but wow! And then from that day, they have just escalated and escalated and escalated until they are what they are now. Because I'm just sitting here talking and I'm focused on a story, my tics are fairly calm. So this is you're seeing me in a calm moment.
Yeah, that's something I have as well. The moment I start normally when I'm filming a video, of course, now I'm focusing on her story and her tics, so I start copying them. But I also find that when I'm talking about something, I've prepared a story and done my research, my tics kind of calm down. Yeah, it'll flare up a little bit, and I have like my video filming tics now, like that one I don't really do unless my camera is on. It's weird how the brain works, but it's weird. It's true that when you're focused on something, often your tics will get more mild. That's quite common. Not for everyone, but you can see it with some people when they start singing or make music or be creative or even just speak and be focused about something and imagining something, that tics will calm down. And something like that. And that's definitely true. So, and that can also help with warding off a tic attacks, like keeping yourself busy, keeping your brain distracted and just getting some of the energy out. That does not always work, and it's different for everyone. For me, it's just dancing around, loud music, flopping about, but not letting the tics take over. But that does mean that you have to become very aware of how tic attacks feel and how they feel when they start coming up, and how that's different than just ticking more. And that takes some time, but yeah. Come on. I want to click it, but I can't. Fuck off. Jesus.
So I've forgotten what I was saying. Oh right, yeah, they just kept getting worse, you know, every day I was getting new tics. Continued having tic attacks. Wow!
Wow, so
when
many!
The tics never went away, and there was, you know, starting to get debilitating. I couldn't do what I normally could. We started thinking maybe this is Tourette's. And because it was getting so extreme, we were like, we need to go to the doctor.
It's not Tourette's, it's a T-Rex.
Wow! However, after my FND diagnosis in 2019, they discharged me. So, we had
Luigi?
to try and get another neurologist to talk to me and see me and stuff. Wow!
Why, Luigi?
No, don't rip this, please. Okay, but side note, is this not the most gorgeous top you have ever seen?
It is adorable.
I feel so beautiful.
That's one thing. Okay, I have no regrets transitioning as I'm transgender, and I have no regrets. And I know clothing don't have a gender, but I do miss dressing up a bit. And that's an awesome top. Absolutely. Ayo. But yeah, again, like about the having to find a neurologist and not, and that whole process being difficult. Again, that's, I think, also a problem in the Netherlands, especially because when you already have a diagnosis and then go to your GP again, they will say, but you already have a diagnosis. But, oh, of course, again, I don't know exactly what that's like in the UK, but again, that video that I talked about was it clinical pathways to, I don't know. I'll put it up. It's a great video, and it's specifically about that and like the research around the difficulty of getting diagnosed and how they think it should be. So I think that is really interesting. Fuck off. But it is frustrating sometimes how much time it can take to talk to someone that knows what they're talking about. I can imagine, especially when you've already been through a lot of medical stuff. I've had a similar, of course, not the same experience, but a similar experience, which is the weird thing. It's because you have so many medical issues and so many different diagnoses, but every time you have something new, you kind of start over. You have to go to your GP again and get referred again and do your whole intake again and tell your story again. And the longer your story gets, the less, at least in my experience, the least serious they take you, because then they're like, yeah, but you already have this, and this, and this. I think it's just this. And it's so frustrating. It can be so frustrating just to get the help that you need. And then when you finally get the help, you feel, finally, I get to, this is what I have. This is it. And it might not be perfect yet, but at least I know what my problem is, and I can take my medication and everything will be all right. And then something new pops up, because the body and the brain, it's a fragile system. And often when you have when one thing starts when one thing goes wrong, it's like a domino effect, and loads of things start to go wrong, and and it never stops. It doesn't stop, and ooh, I get that frustration. So yeah, but awesome top.
But yeah, so I was on a waiting list for the neurologist. However, it was taking months and months, and my tics were just getting worse and worse, and we were like, we need to hurry this up. Like, we need
months to talk to a neurologist is way too long, because tics can be caused by loads of things, and some of them do need quite early medical intervention. And even like if your tics are getting that bad, you need help. And in the Netherlands, I mean, with mental health care, it's at least as bad. I was on the waiting list for 3 years. 3 years this time until I got therapy. But with the neurologist, it was like 2 weeks. And they apologized that the waiting list was that long. And I was just, 2 weeks is fine. And it was a specialist in Tourette's. So that was fine, but months, that's not okay. It's not okay.
need answers.
Ayo!
So that was when we made the decision to go to a private neurologist.
Oh.
Yes, it was going to be pricey, but it would get us seen quicker and it would give us the answers that we were looking for.
Oh, wait. So sorry for stopping there. In the Netherlands, we don't have private doctors. Everything is, I don't know, it's semi-private. Your health insurance pays for everything, and you can't like pay to get to a private clinic to go to a hospital to get diagnosed. We don't have that, even though sometimes, like when I was on the waiting list for therapy, I would have paid. I would have paid by now because it took so long. We don't have that option, but our waiting, luckily, like for neurologists, our waiting lists are not that long at the moment. But again, the video that I was talking about, they also talk about that some people have to go to private care just because the waiting lists are too long or that there's nothing close to them. And I think that's just not right, because even though the average in a country might be all right, but if you don't live close enough to it, or the waiting list at the hospital that you're closest to has a very long waiting list and does not provide the care that you need, then it's still not good enough, because it should be for everyone. That's the whole idea of a healthcare system like in the UK, and partly the way that's in the Netherlands as well, is that everyone should be... I just keep talking really fast so I don't tic. Everyone should be able to get that care. So yeah.
This neurology appointment was a Zoom call because of, you know, thanks to Corona and everything, we couldn't see him in person like we normally would have. We had a Zoom call. He saw me ticking. We told him the backstory, you know, that I've had tics for years now. Wow!
Wow, Luigi!
And he said to us, have you heard of Tourette syndrome? And we were like, yeah. And he said, you know, you have Tourette syndrome. Beans
and bananas!
And it was sort of bittersweet, because leading up to that appointment, I knew that if I got diagnosed with Tourette's syndrome, it would mean
synthesizer
that I would have tics my whole life now. Wow!
Wow,
which is a lot to carry.
I can imagine that, because of course Tourette is something that you just have and you don't like. You don't get cured from it, but it doesn't mean that you'll have it for the rest of your life, because tics come and go, and sometimes all of a sudden they disappear, and because she's still quite young and her tics didn't get this bad for, like a couple of years ago. Again, I'm not a doctor, but I don't think that means that she'll have these severe tics for the rest of her life at all. Ayo, it could be, of course, it could be, and that's, yeah. That's the whole problem with Tourette's, is that you don't know, but it doesn't mean that you'll have it for the rest of your life. Oh, you might grow past it, you might not. I mean, I'm 30 now. I mean, I don't assume that it'll get better, but on the other hand, I'm not on any medication at all at this moment, and I still have that in my mind that if it gets really bad, there's still treatment out there, and there is stuff that helps, and the research is getting further, but I don't know what I was talking about. Let's just continue. Oh no! I clicked stop. Oh no, where was I? Okay, I found it. Now you see that I use a VLC media player to screen record, and that's not because I don't want to give her the views, it's just that I don't want to have to render a video while I'm also screen recording it, because it might lag, so I download the video and then watch it like that. Don't worry, okay? Don't get angry. I'll watch it and give the views after this. So yeah, let's continue.
Tics my whole life now. Wow! Which is a lot to carry on my little shoulders. So I was worried about that, but you know, maybe it would open new doors. I could have medication. Wow!
Why,
you know,
Luigi?
stuff that might help the tics. Wow! It was kind of weird. He just said, you have Tourette's. And then we had like, you know, the whole appointment was like 10 minutes, and then he left and he was like, okay, I've got Tourette's. And it was really weird that day. I felt really weird.
That's also strange, because I don't know, because when I got diagnosed, I had a whole, I think, an hour conversation after I got diagnosed, just talking about what Tourette's is and about how it works in the brain and with the histamine and everything, and talking about my own experience and how things in my past could have, I think things I experienced in my past, like when my tics were worse or better, how certain things could have influenced it, like certain medications. There was loads of research. I got loads of little like leaflets and invitations for special like therapy for it, and medication if I wanted it, and everything. There was like a lot of like kind of aftercare, I think you could call it. Like, so at least an hour after I got the diagnosis, and then she said, okay, it's all right if you don't want any treatment now, just do whatever you want, but now you have like a direct line to our neurology department, and you can come back if you have questions or if you need more help. So just to say to someone, hi, you have Tourette's. It's a neurological disorder and you'll have it for life, and bye, that's it. I don't know. I don't want to be like I don't know, like private care, but is that what you pay so much for? That makes no sense. You deserve better, Evie.
I was happy because I had answers, but then at the same time I was a little bit upset because all those years we thought it was FND when I could have had the right diagnosis years ago, which was annoying, but never mind. You know, you can't change the past. I've got the answers now, so...
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. I felt, because I was late diagnosed with everything. Like I found out I was trans into my 20s. I didn't realize I had ADHD until well into my 20s, and Tourette's as well. I did like look back at my life before and think how much easier would it have been if I already known. But yeah, you can't do that. But it's all right to feel bad about that and to kind of grieve those moments a bit, because you won't get those years back. But yeah.
And I have tried medication for my tics. I'm about to start a new one. The last one didn't go very well. Beans
and
took
banana.
Probably about 7.5 years to get diagnosed with Tourette syndrome. A lot of people don't have that, but for me it was because I had other things going on as well. If I didn't have FND or seizures, like anything else, I would have been diagnosed with Tourette's like years ago. What?
Why,
Unfortunately,
Luigi?
it just didn't work out that way. But which is why it took so fucking long.
Fuck off.
Which is why it took so long. So yeah, that is my Tourette's journey, my Tourette's diagnosis story. I hope this was okay to watch. As you know, I get really insecure doing videos like this, and I think I'm really boring.
She's not. She's doing. Oh my god! How do I do this? I'm so sorry. This could be another like a side hustle for me, just to pause videos on the most inconvenient times. But no, you did so well, Evie. It's really cool. I think it's so important to share these stories. And late diagnosis, it's an issue, and we have to speak up about this, because I think many doctors, the moment they give you the right diagnosis, it's like, see, that's fine, but they don't see the years and years and years before that you have no idea what was going on with you. And every person's specific story is going to be different, of course, but that doesn't mean that it's the current way is all right. And especially with that video that I made about like the ticking explosion in teenage girls, that the first conclusion that some researchers have gotten was, oh, it's because of TikTok. I mean, there's an issue with late diagnosis, and I think Evie is an example of that. I'm an example of that, and so many people with Tourette are an example of that. And maybe even our tics wouldn't have gotten this back later in life if we'd known before. You don't know that. And of course, again, I don't want to ponder too much on the past. That's true. Okay, let's finish this. Why, Luigi?
But I hope this gives you a little bit of insight. Please don't be put off by this if you are, waiting for a Tourette's diagnosis. It shouldn't take you 7 or 8 years like it did for me. My tics were they had other stuff piled up on top of them, and tics were like at the bottom of the list, if you know what I mean. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope this gave you a bit more background. Oh, I'm stuck. Yeah, I hope this gave me a bit bollocks.
Bitch.
I hope this gave you a bit more background.
Bitch ground.
I hope this gave you a bit more background and a bit more insight into what it was like years ago and stuff.
Beans and banana.
Yeah, so if people could stop telling me I'm faking, that would be great.
Oh no.
Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Unless you follow me on TikTok, and then you'll see my face every single day. So follow me on TikTok if you want to see my face every day. Bye.
Ayo. I had thoughts and then I forgot them. So I guess this is the end. Yeah. Of course, follow This Trippy Hippie. Follow Evie on TikTok, and if you're on there, and on YouTube, of course, because you're already on there, because you're here. I'm being stupid. I have to stop now. Love you all so much, and I hope to see you next week. Love you. Bye.